In 1932, Australia became the stage for one of the strangest conflicts in modern history. It was not a war between nations. It was not a rebellion or an invasion. Instead, it was a battle between armed soldiers and large flightless birds known as emus. Following World War I, many Australian veterans had settled on farmland in Western Australia. They worked hard to grow wheat and build new lives. But as the harvest season approached, an unexpected threat emerged from the wilderness. Thousands of emus began migrating across the region. What started as a nuisance quickly became a national problem. The birds entered farmland in enormous numbers, destroying crops and damaging fences. Farmers watched helplessly as months of hard work disappeared beneath waves of hungry birds.
The situation grew worse every week. Some farmers reported seeing thousands of emus moving together across the countryside. The birds trampled valuable wheat fields and created openings in fences that allowed rabbits to enter and cause even more damage. Desperate farmers appealed to the Australian government for help. Eventually, officials agreed to take action. Military personnel were deployed to the affected areas with machine guns and ammunition. The mission seemed simple. The soldiers believed they could quickly reduce the emu population and protect the farms. Few could have imagined that the operation would become one of the most unusual military campaigns ever recorded.
When the first military operations began, the soldiers quickly discovered that emus were far more difficult opponents than expected. The birds were fast, highly alert, and capable of changing direction almost instantly. Large flocks would suddenly split into smaller groups, making accurate targeting extremely difficult. In several encounters, the emus scattered before soldiers could fire effectively. Some machine gun positions jammed or became difficult to use across rough terrain. The birds seemed to disappear into the landscape whenever troops attempted organized attacks. What was expected to be a short operation slowly became an embarrassing challenge.
New strategies were attempted. Soldiers positioned themselves near water sources and migration routes where emus frequently gathered. Vehicles were used in attempts to chase the birds across open land. But the rough Australian terrain often worked against the military. Vehicles struggled to keep up with the fast-moving flocks, while emus easily escaped across fields and hills. Newspapers across Australia began reporting on the unusual conflict. Public interest grew rapidly. Journalists joked that the birds appeared to be winning the war. The Great Emu War soon became a national curiosity, attracting attention far beyond the farming communities where it had started. Despite continued efforts, the operation failed to achieve its original goals. While some birds were removed, the emu population remained large and continued moving across the countryside. Eventually, military involvement was reduced, and alternative methods of controlling the problem were considered. For many Australians, the story became both frustrating and humorous. It demonstrated how unpredictable nature can be, and how difficult it can be to control wildlife across vast landscapes. The image of trained soldiers struggling against flightless birds became part of Australian folklore and remains famous to this day. More than 90 years later, the Great Emu War remains one of history's most unusual real events. It is remembered not because of victory or defeat on a battlefield, but because it revealed the unexpected challenges that can arise when human plans collide with the natural world. What began as a farming crisis turned into a story that continues to fascinate historians, documentary creators, and curious audiences around the globe. The emus never understood they were part of a conflict, yet their migration created a legend that has survived for generations. In one of the strangest chapters of modern history,
An army armed with machine guns faced thousands of determined birds, and the birds became the lasting symbol of the story.